All right. So, okay. So our first word for the Who Are We vocab is the word state. Okay. Now, I know that sometimes this can be a little tricky because here in the U.S., like we have states. We've got Texas and Oklahoma and California and New York and all that. But these states are capital S states, okay? And so when we're talking capital S states, we're talking really about countries. So the words state and country are synonymous. Like those should be interchangeable in your head. Okay, so for our visual, really easy. Square land. Okay, so that's a country. It's got borders. Everybody agrees on them. They're decided upon. They're governed. All that good stuff. Okay, so all the rules and regulations within, okay, come with that. Now, for an example, really, it can be any one of the 200-ish countries that we have in the world. I am going to list just 3 examples, and these are going to be examples that I'm going to repeat throughout. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to stick with them, but this is like my rhyme and reason to the countries that I pick. Okay, so real world example, like Russia. Okay, like the U.S. All right, like Japan. Okay, now if we were to apply this to the U.S., or not the U.S., to Wakeland, okay, then what that would be is the entire Wakeland campus, right? So like all the way from the, like past the front of the school, like to Legacy, okay, all the way back behind the fields, back here at the end of, not the end, but behind the school. Okay, so, and then everything in between, all of that is the state of Wakeland. Okay, makes sense? All right, so that's what I'm just going to list Wakeland campus, the whole thing. Okay, so state equals country. All right, our next term, nation. Bless you. And I think sometimes nation is a little difficult too because a lot of people use it wrong. Okay, so nation is just a people. Now, there's a catch to this, though. The people are the same. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So what I'm talking about there is these people have the same history. They live in the same land. They speak the same language, are the same religion, eat the same food, dress the same, look the same, act the same. Everything is the same. Okay, so there are way more nations in the world than there are states. Okay, yes.
So does that mean the United States isn't a nation?
Not technically, because we are not all the same. We're too diverse to be a true nation. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So for my visual here, the blue-haired nation. Okay. So example, a really good one is the Japanese. Your book gives you that. And the Japanese are like that on purpose. Their government wants them to be a homogeneous nation. They don't want outsiders. Okay. Another example that your book gives you is the Icelanders. People from Iceland. Okay. The Icelanders are that way because it's just their geography. They're an island. They're kind of up where nobody else is, and so they're kind of sort of isolated, and they just really developed that way. Okay, it wasn't meant to be that way, it just kind of happened. All right, so then when we apply it here to Wakeland, the nation would be the Wolverines. Okay, third term, we're going to put them together. Nation state. Okay, so remember, nation is the people, state is the country. So this is a people with a country. Okay. So a people with a country. So I'm just going to combine my two visuals. I'm going to get my blue-haired nation here. Right, and they live in Squareland. Okay, some real world examples, and these are not, there's not as many as there used to be because of all the movement of people around the world. So our two best examples right now, and there's more than two obviously, but these are the two really good ones. The Japanese in Japan, that's a nation state, and then the Icelanders in Iceland. Okay, so if we were to apply that here, then it would be the Wolverines. That's not how you spell Wolverines, though. Wolverines at Wakeland. Okay, so like sometimes a nation has a country. Sometimes a nation doesn't. Okay, so then we call those stateless nations. Okay, so then this is a people without country. Okay, so again, I'm just going to use my same visuals. So this would be like if the blue-haired nation were dreaming about owning Squareland. Okay, real-world examples. The Kurds, which it talked about in that video we watched last time. Remember how he talked about the possibility of Kurdistan, but it didn't really exist yet. So the Kurds actually live where Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria all come together. They live right there in the middle of that. But to have Kurdistan, they would have to give up that land. And are those countries going to give up that land without a fight? No. Especially in the Middle East where you've got oil, forget it. Okay, so this is why right now they're stateless. And they've kind of sort of been, stepped on throughout history. So we'll talk about that too within this unit. Another one is the Palestinians. We'll talk about them too. Palestinians. Okay, they live in they lived in Palestine, but then it becomes Israel and all this drama and turmoil, and we'll get into all that. But they also live in Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria as well. Okay, so, and some, you could even argue, and some do, that in the U.S. we have a stateless nation. They're kind of scattered. Who could that be? Yeah, the Native Americans. Okay, so not all countries have stateless nations. So when you do your research today, not all of you will have one. Okay, number 5. So now we're going to kind of get a little complicated here. I'll tie it to Wakeland. Hang on. Multi-nation state. Okay, so stateless nation, this for Wakeland, this would be like if there was why can't I spell Wolverine? Wolverine at like Frisco High. Okay, now multi-nation state. All right, so remember, nation is what? The people. State is a country. So, but it's multi-people. Okay, so this is many people in a country.
So that would be like the U.S.?
Well, you could make that argument, but, and I'm going to explain why some say no, it's not. Okay, so this would be like Canada, because Canada has the Québécois, or the people that live in Quebec, who actively sought to separate from Canada. Canada also has the First Nations people who also actively sought to separate from Canada, but then Canada was like, here, you can have none of it. It's our coldest piece of land, okay? It could also be like Russia. Russia has a couple of groups. One of the groups is the Chechens, who want to separate from Russia, and they want Chechnya, okay? Now, some say, okay, the U.S. also, because we've got a bunch of different people, but nobody is really actively trying to separate, okay? Now, some say, oh, Texas, but that's not real, okay? So, I don't know. Like, you could say, yes, we are, because we've got a bunch of different people, but then no, we're not, because nobody's really trying to separate, okay? So that's why we use Canada and Russia as our really good, solid examples. Okay, so our visual then, if it's multi-nation, right? So maybe we've got the blue-haired nation, and then maybe we've got like the yellow-haired nation, and then maybe we've got green-haired nation. Okay, all living in square land. Now, if we apply that to us, okay, so multi-nation. So where might we find wolverines and raccoons and warriors and redhawks and rangers all at the same time on the same land? But that's only two. I'm talking like all at the same time on one campus. Huh? Yeah, Kate Center. Can I move that up? Okay. All right, so just as we have a multi-nation state, you can also have a multi-state nation. So state is what? Country. And then nation is people. But this is multi-state. So this is a people in many countries. Okay? So a people in many countries. All right, so this would be like if you had your blue-haired nation.
What are some examples?
I'll get you in a minute. Okay, so this would be if you had your blue-haired nation, but they lived in or across 4 different states. Okay. Real-world examples, the Kurds, because they live in Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. The Koreans, too, because they live in North Korea and South Korea. Okay, and then also Palestinians. Now, if I apply that here, and this is kind of a stretch. So there is right now, there are lots of wolverines spread over several different states, okay? You've got your little baby wolverines over at Fisher. You've also got like medium-sized wolverines at Cobb. And then you have your regular-sized wolverines at Wakeland. And then you've got like your semi-adult wolverines at College. Okay. 3 more. A lot of this happens because of something called nationalism. And all nationalism is pride in your people and in your land. Okay, so like some examples to show nationalism, lots of them will start out with a flag. Like they'll put a flag down, like, this is my land. You also have anthems. Maybe like national holidays, like 4th of July. That could be nationalism. So for my symbol, I'm just going to do a flag. So if I applied that here, what are some ways we show pride for Wakeland? What? Yeah, spirit wear. Wearing orange and blue. What else? We hadn't had one in a while, but we do. Yeah, pep rallies. Maybe going to some games. Right? Singing the alma mater or the fight song. Okay, so all of that could be nationalism. Okay, and then the last 2 terms that we have, that's not good. The last 2 terms are both different types of forces. What is this, number 8? You've got centripetal forces. And then centrifugal forces. Okay, the centripetal forces, these are, they tend to be more on the positive side. So these are going to be things that bring people together. So they're unifying. And for my symbol, I'm just going to do 2 arrows going towards each other. Okay, so like an example could be, really like nationalism. Maybe they make a flag and everybody's like, yeah, that's a great flag. Okay, some countries use language, some religion, which we'll talk about. Okay, but sometimes those forces can also divide. And then you get centrifugal forces. This is how I remember. Centrifugal forces are fights. So fight starts with F, centrifugal has F in it. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to do 2 arrows going away. Okay, so fights, conflicts, things like that. Language can even be a centrifugal force. Religion. I mean, what is good for one may be bad for another group. Okay, so how could we apply these to Wakeland then? So what could be like some unifying things that like we try to bring the whole school together? Something we haven't said yet. What about dress-up days? What else? What else could be a centripetal force for Wakeland? Nothing? Last year we had like a field day. And it was like a whole day off for the whole school. And we just played games outside. I don't know if we'll do that again, but. What about a centrifugal force? What could kind of split the school? Yeah.
Wait, for the centripetal, could it be like homecoming?
Oh, yeah, homecoming. That's a good one. Okay, what about some dividing things? What could split y'all up into groups?
All the different sports.
Okay. So the different teams. What else? Yeah, clubs. What? Oh, yeah, lunch tables. What about class? Like class. Not class, what am I trying? Like freshman, sophomore, junior. Grade level, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, all of that works. Okay, there you go. Those are your 9 terms.